Speaking of,
Okay, let's see what we can do with this. Okay, I just have to put got it on here. Okay, we got that. That's good. So, joy. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May the entire universe be filled with peace, joy, love, and light. Choosing a vegan diet is the way to be in alignment with bringing that beautiful prayer into fruition. When we choose a compassionate vegan diet that is kind to the animals, to the environment, to our own health, that's when true joy emerges, not pseudo joy or temporary joy, but the genuine joy of living in congruence with our true nature, which is peaceful, compassionate, and loving, and with our values of loving kindness, sustainability, and health, both individually and globally. So I'd like to thank you all for participating today. And as Prema Jyoti mentioned, my new book, my most recent book, my 11th book, is entitled The Solution, S-O-U-L, 10 Compelling Reasons to Choose a Plant-Based Diet and Lifestyle. It's available on Amazon.com and also on Kindle ebook. And I'm going to share some of the key points from this book. Now we have about 45 minutes, and so I'm going to spend about a half an hour sharing with you my 10 compelling reasons to choose a plant-based diet, and then go into the vital importance of shifting from vegetarian to vegan. And then I'd like to open up to Q&A so that I can tailor this presentation to your unique concerns. So let us dive in. With the 10 compelling reasons. Compelling reason number 1 is the joy of alleviating suffering and contributing to animal welfare. How many people here have had a pet? How many people here love animals? Animals are amazing. How many of us in this room can fly? How many of us in this Zoom room can swim under the ocean like a dolphin? There was a time in history where human animals and non-human animals lived in harmony. We had totem poles where we honored and had kinship with these beautiful creatures with whom we co-inhabit our precious Mother Earth. But about 11,000 years ago in the Mideast, there was a change in history where animals started to be confined, castrated, imprisoned, controlled, exploited for the purpose of their meat, their milk, their hide, and their labor. In order to treat other living beings whose nervous system is essentially the same as ours, we had to shut down our innate compassion because we are all compassionate by nature. And then in so doing that, when that became normalized, it wasn't a big jump to go from that to domestic violence, to slavery, to war. In fact, the first word in Sanskrit for war is desire for cows, because people were trying to conquer other people to get their livestock. So this is when we shifted from the principle of Ahimsa, which means to do our best not to cause harm, injury, violence in our thoughts, words, and actions, to this model of domination and violence. But I come with a message of hope today, because we can actually reverse all of the major problems that we're facing on planet Earth today by shifting from the SAD diet to the GLAD diet. So the SAD diet means the standard American diet. The GLAD diet means the global Ahimsa loving diet, GLAD, global, loving Ahimsa diet. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word that means to do our best not to cause injury in our thoughts, in our words, and in our actions. And we have the opportunity 3 times a day and all the snacks in between to put the principle of Ahimsa into action. And there's a joy in that. There's a joy in living in congruence with the yamas and niyamas, which is the ethical perfection upon which the entire science of yoga is based. And the first and foremost one is ahimsa, non-injury. So currently we have 72,000 land animals and over 1 trillion marine animals that are tortured and killed for food every year. This is an abominable violation of ahimsa. It's a global atrocity that has been normalized. These animals are in factory farms. 99% of meat, dairy, and eggs comes from factory farms that are literally concentration camps for animals. Animals are routinely confined, brutally treated, dehorned, have their babies ripped away from them, can't turn around in their own stall. Many of them never see the light of day or take a breath of fresh air. This is the opposite of ahimsa. So every single time we buy meat, dairy, or eggs, we are paying someone to torture and murder animals. As Leonardo da Vinci said, there will come a time when men such as I will look on the murder of animals as we now look on the murder of men. And I would like to bring that time to now. What's happened is that we were all born into, 99% of Americans were born into, and globally too, because I know we have an international Sangha here, we're born into meat-eating families. We have been conditioned since we were infants by our parents, by our relatives, by our clergy, by our teachers, by the media in all names and forms and shapes and myriad mediums to normalize the torture, murder, and ingesting of animals. This is what Dr. Will Tuttle, who is the author of the World Peace Diet, refers to as a cultural trance. So my invitation today is to wake up from this cultural trance, to realize what we're doing, and to make new choices, because every single bite we take is a vote for either loving kindness or cruelty, for sustainability or for devastation, for disease or for health. So it's vitally important that we shift from the SAD diet, the standard American diet, to the GLAD diet, which is a vegan diet. So the first compelling reason, the joy to do this, is to alleviate suffering for all of these animals. Every vegan saves at least 200 animals per year. So in my life, that would have been at least 3,000 by now, not to mention all that I have saved through the ripple effect through my vegan advocacy. So we can alleviate suffering from other living beings. And as our beloved Gurudev said, real happiness comes from bringing happiness to others, not from torturing other living sentient beings who, as I said, have essentially the same nervous system as we have, meaning they feel fear, they feel love, they feel hope, they feel joy, they feel terror. Our position, right relationship, is to be the guardian of these animals, to be the mentor, not the tormentor. So by shifting from the sad diet to the glad diet, we can close all these wet markets, slaughterhouses, factory farms, and we can return to the natural harmony and homeostasis and balance and mutual love with these beautiful non-human animals. Compelling reason number 2 is the joy of putting an end to starvation. Many people do not realize the ramifications of their dietary choices. However, in John Robbins' Pulitzer Prize nominated book, Diet for a New America, he pointed out that if Americans would cut down their consumption of red meat, fish, poultry, dairy, and eggs by just 10%, world starvation could end immediately. And why is that? Because it takes 16 pounds of grain to make 1 pound of meat. So if that 16 pounds of grain goes directly to people, we would have no starvation worldwide. According to the United Nations, 21,000 people die of starvation or hunger-related diseases every day. That means 1 person every 4 seconds. Is there any joy greater than putting an end to that, which we can so easily do by shifting from the sad diet to the glad diet? Is any hamburger, ice cream, non-vegan food worth not putting an end to a mother having a child die in her arms from malnutrition? This is something that can so easily be corrected by just a minor adjustment, and it's unconscionable to make any other choice. And it's joyful to contribute to the well-being of all beings. That's why we're here on planet Earth. We're here to give and receive love, to support and to build each other up, not to enslave, torture, and kill. Okay, compelling reason number 3 is the joy of putting an end to water shortage worldwide. Currently, 40% of the world is facing water shortage. 50% of all water in the United States is used for animal agriculture. It takes 2,500 gallons of water to make 1 pound of meat, whereas it takes 250 gallons of water to make a comparable amount of plant protein. So by switching from the sad diet to the glad diet, we save hundreds of gallons of water with every meal we eat. And in so doing, we can put an end to water shortage worldwide. Compelling reason number 4, the joy of replacing deforestation with reforestation. So 80% of all deforestation is attributable to the meat, dairy, and egg industries. Why? Because we're cutting down the rainforest to graze cattle for meat and to grow the feed crops for them, such as soy and corn. If we switch from the sad diet to the glad diet, instead of cutting down the forest, we can reforest. And forests, trees, are the lungs of our planet. Trees absorb carbon dioxide and they give off oxygen. We depend on that oxygen to live. Without trees, we could not have life on planet Earth as we do. So by making this simple change, which is so easy, delicious, and there's so many non-dairy alternatives and so many meat alternatives so readily available today, there would be no reason not to save the trees, the forests on planet Earth, not only for ourselves, but for future generations. Compelling reason number 5, reversing the climate crisis. Now, there's a lot of new data coming out on this topic right now, but the current research shows that 51% of greenhouse gas emissions come from animal agriculture. Methane gas, nitrous oxide, and methane gas are potent greenhouse gases that contribute to the destabilization of our climate. Animals in these factory farms, which are prisons for animals, naturally give off methane gas as part of their digestive process. Also, the synthesized fertilizer that is used in these factory farms gives off methane gas, as well as acres and acres of cesspools of their excrement. So 51%, that's more than all forms of transportation combined, of greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate destabilization come from animal agriculture. So when we switch from the sad diet to the glad diet, we can put an end to this. We can contribute to the healing of our planet, of our climate, not just for ourselves, but for all species and for future generations. Compelling reason number 6, the joy of being part of the solution than the pollution. Right now, in these factory farms, animals are routinely sprayed, injected, and fed antibiotics, insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, and a host of other toxic chemicals. All this goes into their excrement, and all that excrement goes untreated into our waters, our rivers, our lakes, eventually into the ocean and into our aquifers. 80% of pollution in waters is attributable to the meat, dairy, and egg industries. These imprisoned animals give off, their excrement is 20 times more than the entire human population. And also 80% of antibiotics goes to animal agriculture, which is making them antibiotic resistant. So when doctors need antibiotics to treat humans, they're very weak and not potent anymore from this perverse practice. So the whole idea here is that we're polluting our waters, we're polluting our soil, we're polluting our air, we're polluting our body, we're polluting our moral compass by torturing and murdering other living sentient beings. Pollution on all levels across the board is what's occurring from the meat, dairy, and egg industries. And when we make this shift, all of that can be reversed. We'll replace the pollution with the solution, which is the joy of a vegan diet for the benefit of one and all, diet and lifestyle. So when I say diet, I don't mean just what we eat, but I mean what we wear, not having wool, silk, and leather, and also our cosmetics. I don't know, we can talk about this. We're talking about pollution too. I have a chapter in my book, The Solution, called Break Up with Non-Vegan Makeup. Many women do not realize that commercial lipstick is made from crushed beetles. Tens of thousands of guts of beetles are in every pigment coloring of lipstick. Whereas if you get organic from 100% pure lipstick, you can replace that with pomegranate pigment lipstick. So it's not just the diet. I'm referring to the entire lifestyle. are household products. I do not use any household products, any supplements, anything that doesn't say vegan on it, cruelty-free on it. So this is a consciousness that starts to permeate all of our choices, where we wake up and we want to be conscious consumers, and we want our voting dollar to support the values that we hold dear, which is loving kindness to all beings and forms of life. Compelling reason number 7 is increasing energy. So it takes 11 times more fossil fuels to make 1 pound of meat than it does to make 1 pound of comparable animal protein. So by choosing the GLAD diet instead of the GLAD diet, and choosing the GLAD diet instead of the SAD diet, we can reduce our imports of oil, and we can increase our use of renewable energy such as hydroelectric and wood by 120%. And we can put an end to energy shortage worldwide, because so much energy is wasted in these factory farms, in shipping this meat, in refrigerating this meat, in all the processing of this meat. All of that can be eliminated, and we can save an enormous amount of energy. And that's energy, speaking of the outer energy, but I also want to address the inner energy. So it takes 8 hours to digest a meat meal and 4 hours to digest a vegan meal. So it's half as much wear and tear on your body, which gives us more energy to do other things we love and to be of service to God and his creation in whatever form we are naturally called to do. Also, when we ingest the biochemistry and terror from these imprisoned, terrorized animals, that depletes our energy. 1 out of 4 people are on antidepressant drugs. Why would that be? Why does it deplete our energy? Because when we're ingesting the biochemistry of violence and terror, is there any correlation between causing misery, ingesting misery, and being miserable? We need to connect the dots and see that how this is diminishing our energy and our ability to fulfill our swadharma, which means our unique calling on planet Earth, what we were uniquely called to do. Whatever it is, it requires energy. As Tesla said, everything is energy, vibration, and frequency. We are spiraling down our energy when we're ingesting this violent food, whereas when we choose the GLAD diet, which is the Ahimsa diet. The GLAD diet includes fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, legumes, and sprouts. The SAD diet is meat, dairy, eggs, fowl, fish. So when we make that conscious shift, we put ourselves on an upward spiral, as well as every other aspect of life, because many people do not realize the widespread ramifications of our dietary choices, which I'm hoping that this particular talk is illuminating. Moving on to compelling reason number 8, which is the joy of improving our health. The number 1 cause of death in this country and globally is heart disease. 33% of the world dies from heart disease. 1 out of 4 Americans die from heart disease every year. Why? When we eat the SAD diet, it clogs the arteries to the heart, that kills the body. Every time they do autopsies, they pull out saturated fat from animal protein. They never pull out broccoli, carrots, or cauliflower. So the idea here is we're killing these cows or pigs or chickens or whatever it may be, and then it is killing us, literally. The second cause of death is cancer. So Dr. Dean Ornish proved definitively that heart disease, the #1 cause of death in the world, can be arrested and reversed through 4 components: yoga, meditation, low-fat vegan diet, and group support. And then he also went on to do other studies to definitively show that the same holds true for cancer. And now he's doing the same thing for Alzheimer's. So it's not a different diet for all 3 of these ailments, as well as other ailments like diabetes, autoimmune, obesity, etc. It's the same diet for all of them. And that's the GLAD diet. So we have the joy of improving our health and the health of our loved ones. Health is our greatest wealth. Without health, it's not possible to accomplish anything, whether it be spiritual or material. Also, obesity. 3 out of 4 Americans are obese. Vegans, on the average, are 20 pounds lighter than non-vegans, because when we eat fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, grains, legumes, and sprouts in their natural state, our body naturally comes to its balance. You don't have to count calories or anything like that. When you eat a whole foods vegan diet, your weight takes care of itself. This whole obesity epidemic could be reversed if people shift from the SAD diet to a whole foods vegan diet. Also, there's a host of other ailments that I don't have time to get into everything today, but suffice it to say that the vegan diet is the healthiest diet on planet Earth, unless more healthy would be a raw foods diet, or perhaps a fruitarian diet or a breatharian diet. Maybe we can all graduate to that, where we just live directly on the prana and the light. There are some people who do that, but for now, let's just say whole foods vegan diet for the mass people on planet Earth. Okay, moving on to compelling reason number 9, the joy of putting an end to modern day slavery. Many people do not realize the correlation between animal slavery and human slavery. As I mentioned in the beginning, 11,000 years ago, when we started to imprison and exploit animals, that animal slavery led to domestic slavery, led to terrorism and war, because it's the consciousness of domination and violence that needs to be replaced with loving kindness, with ahimsa, with cooperation and collaboration. So many people are not aware that there's more slavery today than any other time in history, because we have sex trafficking, we have child soldiers, we have domestic servitude, we have slavery across the board in many forms. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why? Because it's based on this consciousness. As Thoreau said, there are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil, with one striking at the root. And I am striking at the root, and I'm making this crystal clear. The root problem of all of our major problems on planet Earth today is the consciousness of domination and violence. And when that consciousness is replaced with ahimsa, loving kindness, collaboration, and cooperation, all of these problems will cease. There will be an end to modern day slavery, because animal liberation leads to environmental liberation, leads to human liberation on all levels. As Tolstoy said, as long as there are slaughterhouses, there will be battlegrounds. And as Dr. Martin Luther King said, no one is free until we all are free. So in our dietary choices, every single day, we have the choice to vote for slavery or freedom. Take your pick, and I hope that everybody chooses wisely. Now, the 10th and final reason is the joy of doing what is right. What is best for us is best for every ecosystem on planet Earth, as I'm describing how it affects starvation, how it affects water, how it affects deforestation, pollution, energy, health, a climate crisis, also pandemics. We can prevent future pandemics. Why? Because wet markets, slaughterhouses, factory farms are breeding grounds for infectious disease agents that cause a storm environment for pandemics. So if we want to put an end to these pandemics, we need to put an end to this animal exploitation. I will just conclude by saying the boomerang effect here. We kill animals, we're killed by heart disease. We confine animals, we find ourselves in lockdowns. We force feed these animals, we're suffering with obesity. Animals are raped on what the industry literally calls a rape rack, and women are raped worldwide. We rip the babies away from these animals hours after they're born. If you would just hear the anguish of the calf being ripped away from the mother, recordings of that anguish, that sound, that would be enough to make anybody go vegan instantly. That animals are being torn and our families are being torn apart. We're cutting down the lungs of the planet through deforestation. Our lungs are being attacked by pollution and diseases such as COVID-19. What goes around comes around. As we sow, so shall we reap. But the good news, all of this can be reversed. This is a message of hope. All of the major problems can be reversed by switching from the sad diet to the glad diet. Now I want to speak specifically, and might be the most important part of this presentation, is the vital importance of shifting from vegetarian to vegan. Because many yogis, yoginis might agree that it's good to be on a vegetarian diet because of ahimsa, non-injury, non-violence, not harm. But if you're a vegetarian for the reason of ahimsa or for your health, you would also have to be, no-brainer, a vegan, because dairy is the cruelest part of the meat industry. And I want to make this crystal clear. Dairy cows are, which is 99% where dairy comes from, is cows from factory farms that are confined, brutally dehorned, raped on what the industry calls a rape rack through an artificial semination process that is perverse and painful so that they will stay lactating to give milk. And when they carry their babies for 9 months, just like we do, and give birth, and the way we would love our animals, our babies, is the way they would love their babies. How would you like it if someone ripped your baby away from you that you carried for 9 months? Just tune into that for a moment, my friends, because we're all either mothers or have mothers, right? Unconscionable. Then a cow's lifespan is 25 years. They undergo this torture for 5 years, and then they're spent, and then their reward for that is being sent to slaughter. So not are they just slaughtered, but they're tortured for 5 years first. So anyone who thinks like yogis and yoginis, our purpose is to live by the yamas, niyamas to the best of our ability. Can we say we stand for ahimsa? Can we teach ahimsa? Can we be practicing ahimsa and not being vegan? Can we say that's for what we stand and then we go out for a cheese pizza or an ice cream cone when we know clearly that our voting dollar is causing someone to torture another living being who has the same feelings essentially as we do? We need to wake up from this. And it is my sincere hope and prayer. We have actually submitted a formal proposal to the Spiritual Life Board at Yogaville. Swami Ramananda, Avi Gordon, and myself suggesting, proposing, requesting that all of Yogaville shift from vegetarian to vegan for this very reason. I also didn't mention something else is vitally important, which is these imprisoned cows in factory farms, which is where 99% of dairy comes from, are milked with painful metal machines twice a day. And in that process, they get cuts and bruises and wounds. And if it's organic, they cannot be treated with antibiotics because that would ruin the organic label. So in order to get more money for organic, these poor cows go untreated and have to suffer untreated. So a lot of people say, oh, it's okay, I eat dairy that's organic. No, organic dairy is worse. It's even more cruel to the cows. So don't think you can deceive yourself by thinking that organic is somehow better or okay. It is not. It is worse. So I will complete by saying that the joy of going to a vegan diet is living in congruence with the teachings of Ahimsa, and also Asteya. How can we steal the life, the existence, the freedom, the babies, the comfort from other beings who want to be sovereign just as we are? As Dr. Martin Luther King said, never, never be afraid to do what is right, especially when the well-being of a person or an animal is at stake. Society's punishments are small compared to the wounds we inflict on our soul when we look the other way. So you can never say again, you don't know. Everyone who's heard this transmission that I'm giving today knows that eating dairy is a violation, egregious violation of Ahimsa. And there's absolutely no reason to do it because there's so many non-dairy, delicious, nutritious alternatives, such as oat milk, cashew milk, macadamia nut, Brazil milk, quinoa milk, oat milk, almond milk, spelt milk. The list goes on, pea milk, peanut milk. There's absolutely no reason. And Ben and Jerry's now have non-dairy ice cream. There's absolutely no reason that holds water not to make this shift. So it's my joy to inform you about these things because I know that when we are informed, we make more compassionate choices, and that benefits the entire creation. So now I'm going to open it up to any kind of Q&A questions you may